This is Levi Swanson from Maplevale Farms. Now, Maplevale Farms is a whole line seller. They provide meat and cheese and vegetables and seafood and everything you can possibly imagine to restaurants, grocery stores, 7-Elevens. What
Yep.
do you? Yeah,
I like to
any
say from alligator meat to toilet paper, we've got it all.
right on, right on. So the reason I wanted to talk with you, Levi, is because there seems to be a lot going on in the grocery world, and I feel like that you can kind of speak to a whole nother level compared to just me going to the grocery store and seeing what's happening there. And I thought it might be cool if we did this on like a monthly basis, be like the state of the groceries kind of thing. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, so Thanksgiving's coming up. So and another thing is Levi had sent an email with a report basically saying, these things are, you know, looking really bad. The prices are going up on these things, so on and so forth. And I thought that report was like super interesting, and that was kind of what sparked this whole conversation. So yeah, I'll kind of let you take it away. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about Maplevale, and then we'll kind of dig into what you're seeing as far as grocery quality, produce quality, meat quality, pricing, all that stuff. We'll just go at it and see what we find.
Sure. Yep. So I'm Levi Swanson from Maplevale Farms. I'm a sales representative, and I also do restaurant consultation on the side. And like you said, we're a whole line distributor, and we do everything from restaurants to hospitals and schools to convenience stores and grocery stores.
Nice.
So, and before that, I was a restaurant manager, and I've done everything from bartending to serving to general manager to cook to bar back, you name it. So I've got a wide background in restaurants.
Awesome, awesome. So what is like the big thing going on right now with like let's start with Thanksgiving because that's like a week and a half away or whatever.
Yeah.
Like what's going on with turkeys?
Well, there's a turkey issue. Of course, the avian flu, which is everyone knows about chicken. You know, it's a big deal, especially for chicken. But when it's detected in a herd, they have to call the entire herd. And of course, people aren't familiar with that term. They've got to kill the entire flock, and that's everything in a 7 mile radius. Um,
Whoa.
so a lot of these chicken farms are next door to each other. So these farms are killing off millions of birds. But the thing about chicken is that they take about 6 to 8 weeks to grow. So
Mm-hmm.
it's when you're talking about millions of birds, it's a big deal. But at the same time, we probably are raising billions of birds, so we don't feel it quite as much, and it's resupplied in a relatively quick way, six
Mm-hmm.
to eight weeks. Whereas turkeys, it takes 5 to 6 months. So in July, avian flu came and attacked the turkey population, and it
Now, was
affected
that
everyone.
in a specific part of the country, or was that all over the country, or all over the
It was
world?
all over. There's a turkey farm in Michigan that typically isn't affected, and it
Hmm.
was this time. It's actually called Michigan Growers, Michigan Co-op,
Okay.
and they're kind of in the mitten, as I like to call it, in Michigan. And typically the bird migration doesn't affect them because that's the avian flu. It's really tricky. I mean, birds, finches, and cardinals and all that kind of stuff can carry it from farm to farm. That's why they have to kill everything. Once detected, they've got to, everything's got to be killed. It's got to be sanitized. And even the trucks that come in and out of the farms, they have to be
Yikes.
washed and
I didn't
sanitized.
even think about that.
So that's kind of once they're, that same truck is going to this farm, is going to the next farm, and it's spreading that virus. So it affected in Michigan, it affected in Iowa and Indiana, and all those kind of Midwest states that were raising the turkeys. And once they were all killed, it takes about 5 to 6 months for them to grow. So you do the math, July, you're talking December, maybe January when turkeys are going to be ready.
Not
And
in time for Thanksgiving.
right, so I mean, we're noticing it already. The market price on turkey has definitely gone up, and then even at the store, like Walmart just did their this time of year. Grocery stores always do their loss leader on turkey, right? You go
Mm-hmm.
in, you get your turkey, you get your cranberry sauce, you get everything for Thanksgiving, all your fixings. It used to be something silly like 29 cents, 39 cents. Well, Walmart was one of the first ones out of the gate. They're doing 89 cents. So that's up,
Oh, wow.
50
Per
cents a
pound, you're
pound from
saying?
last year. Yeah, per
Yeah.
pound. Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean that's still lower. That's lower than market price. Market price we're probably seeing around the buck 70, buck 80 range.
Hmm.
So it is. They're still doing a loss leader. I think Giant Eagle announced that they were doing 99 cents a pound. I haven't seen Wegmans yet. Um, and of course, these are all regional stores that we're talking about other
Sure.
than Walmart. But yeah, you're not going to get that same deal, 39, 49 cents that you have in the past.
Wow. Wow. And so after Thanksgiving, what do you think prices are going to do for turkeys? Like, say someone eats, turkey breast all the time, like they're not going to get that kind of deal after Thanksgiving. So will it go up even higher because of this, or?
Raw turkeys will come back into circulation, I think, in December, January. I think
Okay.
we're really good. And then your deli turkeys, that's really where you're seeing it because raw turkeys, one thing, it's then processing it and cooking them and creating the deli turkey. So you're going to see more. You don't see the average advertisement for turkey sandwiches at Arby's and Subways, and
That's
that's what you're
true.
going to notice until I think that's going to be March, April, May when you start seeing the availability really come to fruition.
Wow. So instead of being like $12 to $13 a pound like it is right now for deli turkey, it's like going to come back to like $7, $8 a pound, probably.
I think it'll come back down, once the availability is there, and that's saying if avian flu goes away. We have years ago it was really bad, and chicken went through the roof, and then we kind of had a nice 6, 7, 8 year window where it wasn't quite as bad, and then this past year's been
Hmm.
really bad. So
Hmm.
it all depends on that. I know it seems
That's
like viruses just keep on impacting our lives.
yeah. We won't even go any further than that,
Yeah.
though. So tell me a little bit about in the one email you sent. The one of the biggest topics was lettuce, specifically green leaf lettuce and romaine lettuce, I think.
Green
What
leaf,
do you?
romaine, and iceberg. Yeah,
Okay.
so same deal. There's this virus called it's INSV. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because it's a really long word. And as I like to say, I sell chicken tenders for a living. So I'm not a biologist by any means, but I understand the food business. So yeah, kind of the same thing when that is prevalent in, they call it a vector, where they plant these. It spreads like wildfire. Once you
Mm,
find it on one plant, it goes to the next one. All the germinating that gets done with by animals and the wind just carrying it. That's what happens. The only way you can do it is burn it. They burn the crops. You got
oh.
you got to till it into the ground. So, and produce has an inverse relationship. When produce is great and beautiful, the price is really cheap. Produce is one of those things that's really supply and demand. Commodities in general, meat, turkeys, all. It's honest to God still a business that's done supply and demand. So, as the supplies dwindle, the price goes through the roof. So that's what we're finding. Lettuce right now. This time of year, lettuce does go up because they're switching between fields. Um, Large commercial produce farms, or you find them in California, Arizona, Florida, and Mexico.
Hmm.
And right now, everything's been coming out of California, and that's where this INSV has been really prevalent.
Hmm.
And in about 2 weeks, we're going to switch to Yuma, Arizona, and I think things are going to get better. But we're seeing record highs for a 24 count lettuce. We're talking $100 a case.
Wow.
So I mean
And
that's.
what did it used to be for people
Oh,
that?
normally you can go to the grocery store and buy a head of lettuce for like a buck,
Mhm.
and we're talking 4, 5, 6 bucks a head, depending
Wow.
on where we're local stores I've seen ranging from, um, again, people are going to do it as a loss leader. They've negotiated contracts so that they can sustain some of the price increase. I've seen it as a buck 89. I've
Okay.
seen it for 3.99. I've seen it as high as $6 a head. So, and the quality, unfortunately, like we said, that inverse relationship, the quality is really bad right now. You're gonna pick up a head. It's gonna be light. You're gonna take it home. You're gonna open it up. And it's gonna be brown and mushy inside.
Yeah. Super wilty inside. It's gross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about, iceberg. But there remains the same thing. That it's just kind of it's a necrotizing virus So you see those little spots that it just kind of eats itself.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And you can see it all over. And yeah, it's really caused prices to go up extremely high. And I think you're going to see places be a little more stingy. You know how you normally get like a head of lettuce on your sandwich at some places. They're probably going to
Right.
cut back on that. They're just going to put a little bit of lettuce. Might even ask
Gotcha.
you, "Do you want lettuce on that?" Which normally is not an issue.
Right. Right. That's interesting. That's a really interesting perspective. Like, I can't imagine being asked, "Do you want lettuce on that?" It's like,
Yeah,
it's like, "Do you want lemon in your tea?" Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Never lettuce on a burger, right? Okay, well, I mean, that's fascinating. So, and you think so by switching locations for some of the main purveyors that you're going through, that will probably alleviate the situation, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah, and that's pretty much. It's amazing. This is a kind of a broader brush here, but how
Yeah.
something 3,000, 4,000 miles away affects us. But really, these commercial farms supply the all of the United States. I mean,
Hmm.
the same lettuce that we're eating is the same lettuce that people in North Carolina are eating, people in Florida are eating. It's these big commercial farms, and they're all coming from this one location. Whether it's good or bad, that's we're
Yeah,
kind of
that's
finding
another
out.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, they're going to switch to Yuma, Arizona, and it all depends on the weather too. I liken produce to like a fickle girlfriend, right? Like if it's too hot, then she's complaining, and then if it's too cold, she's complaining, and if it rains too much, she's complaining. Like produce is so fickle. It's really
Sounds like me too.
fragile. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's really when we had the issues with drivers, and maybe that's a whole other topic. When we kind of had a shortage of truck drivers, meat can kind of hang out on a truck, a refrigerator truck that can be on there for 14 days. Chicken's got 11 to 14 days. And you can freeze beef, you can freeze chicken. It's not a big deal. If you don't have a truck
Right.
driver or the chassis to put the truck on,
Hmm.
not a huge deal for some, a lot of those things you can freeze. Now, lettuce gets too hot, gets too cold, sits in one place too long,
Gets
it goes
nasty.
bad. Yeah, it gets
Yep.
nasty. And it's already, for us on the East Coast, it's already got to make that trek from California, Mexico, Yuma. And then there's the driving laws that you can only drive for 10, 11 hours at a time. And,
Right.
so by the time that quote unquote fresh lettuce gets to us, it's probably got 4, 5, 6 days on it. And so if there's a driver shortage, or if it snows in the Rocky Mountains and they can't go across 80 or 70, excuse me, there's that really comes into play.
That's really interesting. So when people are shopping for lettuce and other produce in the next few months, they're probably going to see prices a little higher than they were last year. I mean,
Oh,
everything's more expensive than they were last year
right,
already, but like,
right.
but even more so for some specific type of produce. You kind of think all produce is going to be across the board a little higher.
Well, I definitely see it in your leafy greens, your lettuces and romaines and icebergs and whatnot. I see it in broccoli and cauliflower. Tomatoes have been affected too. The virus that affects lettuce is very similar to a virus that affects tomatoes. So
Hmm.
we've seen a rise in tomatoes as well. The virus that we're talking about, the INSV, affects like 400 different types of produce.
Wow.
So it's kind of a wide ranging, and it's a close, I don't know, cousin to the tomato virus, which is another term that I can't pronounce. So we'll just call
Sure.
it the tomato virus.
And do you see this in mostly like big commercial farms, or does it kind of affect everybody, like the smaller more local farms that just kind of sell during certain months, or do they, does everybody fight this kind of stuff?
Oh, you're opening a hornet's nest there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it would definitely affects, I think, bigger farms more because they have more. They've planted more,
Sure, sure.
and they're closer as the rows are closer together, and more more hands touch it. I guess is
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
be affected. Whereas if you're dealing with a local place, maybe a greenhouse, they're probably going to be better situated. As an individual, as a household, that's fine.
Hmm.
You could
Hmm.
probably go to your local greenhouse, or if they've got one of those setups.
Right.
You can
Which is
probably,
also going to be more expensive. But yeah,
yeah,
there's that.
it's going to be
Yeah.
more expensive, but
Mm.
you are going to see it with your own eyes. That's the thing that
Right.
people don't understand. When you go to the store and you buy eggs, right? You think you're buying fresh eggs. Well, no, those eggs were hatched, or they were, I guess the word I'm looking for, were laid, and
Yes.
then
Yeah.
cleaned and pasteurized, and then put in a carton and shipped to one facility, shipped to another facility, and shipped to your,
It takes
where your
time.
grocery
Yeah.
store is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the thing about anything in the grocery store, which I'm not against grocery stores, it's just that there's definitely an element of time that goes into all that stuff. Whereas if you buy local, you're definitely going to get fresher ingredients.
Sure, sure, sure. And so let's so we don't let this go on too long because I think we probably talk about bad lettuce for the next hour and a half. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
so what are you seeing in terms of, like, let's talk about beef and steak and things like prime beef and choice and Angus, like all that kind of stuff. Is it coming back down in price because it's been crazy?
So the USDA report came out and they projected a 15% price increase in 2023. So I know that's exciting, I'm sure.
Yeah.
As a guy whose company's name is Bierger, right?
Right.
That's but so we're not seeing it yet. As of right now, in fact, I was just reading the report before we started talking. Uh, the prices haven't been moving like that. In fact, things are down compared to last year, which is surprising. And again, it's a commodity, which means that it's very subject to supply and demand. And in this quarter four, we typically do see ground beef go down because the demand
Oh,
is down. People are
sure.
switching to it's the holidays. You're
Hmm.
going to hams, you're going to turkeys, you're going to filet mignon, you're going to larger type items, and that's where we see those things rise. Um,
Mm.
I've seen it looks like ribeyes are back up a little bit. Feels like strip loins are down.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
noticed that the other day when I went shopping.
yeah, so it kind of depends on the item you're looking for. Ribeye is your prime rib, your Domenico
Hmm.
steaks. So definitely it's a mixed bag on that, but the USDA thinks that there's going to be a 50% increase, and so far, it's an opportunity right now, and they say going forward there's going to be opportunity buys in certain sectors.
Interesting.
So keep an eye out for that. Most ground beef, and probably lower cuts of of course there's four categories: no roll, select, choice, and prime.
Sure.
And prime's always going to be the most expensive. And the best way I've had this explained to me is people who don't understand the meat market quite as much as you and I,
Hmm.
is that prime, you're almost you're hedging your bet, right? Like when you buy that, obviously you can't taste it when you've got it in front of you, but that it's good. The lean to fat ratio is good. The marbling is going to be good. You're going to get a nice piece of meat. Whereas choice, you're not gambling quite as much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always say
Just
when you
just
get a
depends. I've gotten a
yeah,
choice steak and it was so marbled you couldn't believe that it was
yep,
choice and not prime. So
yep. When you get a
so it really
strip
just
loin,
depends.
yeah, if you buy a prime strip loin, you're going to get 10 to 12 amazing steaks out of that. You buy a
Yeah.
choice strip loin, you're probably going to get 8 to 10. You buy a
Hmm.
select strip loin, you're going to get 6 to 8. You buy a no roll, you're going to get 4 to 6 good steaks. When I say good solid steaks with the marbling and everything,
Hmm.
everything comes at a value.
You're right, and that actually leads me to my next question. So, if many of my viewers go to their local grocery store, whether that's Wegmans or Giant Eagle or Kroger or whatever, would you recommend, if they can do it, to buy like the entire loin, like the entire, subprimal versus just individual steaks? Say they eat like maybe one steak a week or one steak every 3 weeks, whatever that is. Just buy them, chop them, freeze them yourself. Like, would they save a ton of money that way?
You're going to save so much money buying the whole loin yourself.
Mm.
Absolutely. I don't know if I'm going to suggest that because, some people don't have the training, the knife training to trim a
Sure,
loin
that's
down.
true.
That's
Yeah.
that's pretty serious.
Yeah, depending on
Grandma's
the
probably
loin.
not going to, yeah,
That's
grandma's not going to
shortened.
lift a 16-pound ribeye and trim it all up.
That's true.
Um,
And I did a short loin, and I had to go buy a stainless steel blade for a reciprocating saw to cut that
yeah,
bad boy.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If you buy a bone in or boneless, right? Every time a
Yeah.
knife touches the primal, it goes up in price. So yeah, I
Mm,
mean, there's screaming deals out there. You could get a bone in ribeye, right? And you're probably talking $4 or $5 a pound. But
mm,
then you've got to have something that can cut through that bone.
yep. Yep.
Otherwise, you got a really expensive piece of meat that you're not gonna be able to eat. You're gonna have to
Yep. And
carve at it
just
with a spoon. Yeah,
throw it on the spit and let it rotate,
yeah.
That's all right, cool. Well, anything else you want to add for the first version of State of the Groceries? Name still in progress.
I don't think so. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson has always asked, "What keeps you up at night?" And the thing that keeps me up at night is that we, as a country, as a civilization, as a world, we live on a 3 month food supply. I don't know if you've heard of this or talked about this. Throw out physics out the window and say the sun goes out, poof, it just turns off, and we can't grow food anymore, and
Right.
there's no electricity to grow inside. We would run out of food in about 3 months. So it's good or
That's scary.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's scary, but at the same time, none of us are going to starve. The sun's not going out. We still have electricity.
Right.
We're in good shape. So it's not the panic. Panic buying never does anybody good. You're just harming the next
Right.
person down the line.
Right.
So yeah, whether that keeps you up at night or gives you comfort, um, maybe start a garden at home. There you go.
Absolutely. Yep.
Tip of the day.
Well, cool. Well, if any of the people watching this video have any questions for Levi, in terms of, what other question, what any type of questions they have as far as groceries or lettuce or produce or seafood or meat or any of those great things that he knows a ton about, hit us up in the comments and let me know. And for the next episode, we'll ask those questions. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Hey, seafood's a good buy right now. There's a tip. Seafood, that market really hasn't been affected quite as much, other than crab. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw the report. The crab industry in Alaska has been canceled. There's been no, they're
Oh,
not, they're not
no, I
crabbing
didn't see
in
that.
Alaska at all.
Wow.
Millions of crab have gone missing. So they assume that
What?
yeah, millions of crab are missing. They think they migrated to maybe colder water, as
Oh,
ocean temperatures rise. So
yeah.
they've canceled crabbing season in Alaska. So you're not going to find anybody that's doing all you can eat crab legs. But other than that, I really think right now is a good opportunity to buy seafood. Salmon and shrimp seems to be a
Hmm.
good
When are
buy.
scallops going to come back down? Because they are ridiculously priced now. I mean,
I
they
know.
went from 2 years ago at $13 a pound to now $35, $36 a pound for big sea scallops.
I know it, and I think that has to do with scarcity as well.
Yeah,
Overfishing as they call it. So everything ebbs and flows.
sure.
Again, I think it'll come back to earth. I don't know if it'll ever be 13 again,
Yeah,
but I don't know if we'll ever see 39 cent a pound turkey again. But
right,
yeah,
right.
everything will come back in due time.
Well, cool. Well, very good. Thank you for taking the time to help explain to the dozens of viewers that I have. No, I'm just kidding. My channel's been growing really well. We got over
Good.
6,000 subscribers now. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So I think they'll enjoy this. I think they'll find some good tidbits in this, and your knowledge is well appreciated. So
Absolutely.
thanks,
Thanks for having me.
thanks. Yeah, we'll schedule for next month, and we'll figure out what prime rib is doing for Christmas.
That sounds good. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too, buddy. See ya.
Thanks. Bye bye.